So if the belief out there among women is that men are callously, with little thought and no respect, deciding what they can and can't do with their bodies, I don't know a better way to confirm it than with the sunglasses emoji. Total garbage, but it's Florida, so he's probably, like, when that news gets out to his constituents, he'll probably win re-election with a greater share of the vote. Absolute garbage. Okay, you wanna go to mine?
Yeah.
I don't, that's the thing, I really don't. My garbage person of the week is, regrettably, Tucker Carlson for doing what he does. Let's go to this video.
Last night, the Supreme Court of the United States ruled on a new abortion law in the state of Texas. That decision came down, by the way, 5-4. That's the exact split that decided Roe v. Wade almost 50 years ago. So it's good enough to have meaning. This time, the court upheld a Texas law that effectively bans abortion once a fetal heartbeat is detected. Typically, that's about 6 weeks into a pregnancy. Now, this new law does not allow the government of Texas to enforce the ban, so no one's going to jail over abortion. Instead, the new law lets citizens sue clinics that commit illegal abortions. So no matter how you feel about abortion, it's kind of hard to argue this is an especially radical law. Intentionally stopping a person's heart from beating is the definition of killing. Government has a right to regulate that. In fact, deciding when it's okay to kill a person is, on the most basic level, the whole reason to have laws in the first place. So whether it's right or wrong, or whether you like it or not, it's not a crazy statute.
So we sort of crossed over. Basically, pick a random entitled rich white guy and he doesn't give a damn about what happens to all these women. But in this particular case, there's a few reasons I chose him as my garbage person. Here's the most shallow. It wasn't 5-4 that Roe v. Wade was decided. It was 7-2. It takes 3 seconds of research to know that, and I'm sure that he does, as he claims that it was 5-4 and then smiles at the camera. And it's not just that he got the fact wrong, which is weird enough considering the staff he has. It's that he used that similarity to what the Supreme Court just did as a point. But no, it was 7-2. Anyway, he doesn't acknowledge why the state isn't enforcing it. He mentions it. He doesn't mention that that's obviously purposefully done to try to allow the Supreme Court the cover they need to not actually rule on it. He doesn't talk about the prospect of other bounty laws, some of which, by the way, he might end up not liking were they to be passed. He doesn't engage in any way with any of the substance of the bill. He just states in his waxed-faced apathetic tone that no, stopping someone from exercising the rights they've had for more than a half century after just 6 weeks isn't radical. No one could possibly think that. If anyone tells you it's radical, it's not. By the way, Joe Biden is a radical commie. That's his show, effectively. It is putting a bored expression, a bored face on the insane Christian fascist, I almost swore, stuff that they're doing right now. And his almost entirely old male audience is going to eat it up, because although many of them have enthusiastically been involved in abortions in the past, and they know that if anyone they care about needs one, they'll be able to get one. It's just great to think about the fact that all these poor people in Texas won't.
Everyone.
Quickly, sorry.
So, all right, I'll just say this. Tucker Carlson has no logic on his show ever. He says stuff and then he says so, ipso facto, essentially. And then he says something that does not follow whatsoever from what he just said.
Yes.
But people hear him. It's almost musical. It's like na 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 na. And because of that resolution to the next chord, that got everyone's like, oh, it sounded like he set up and made a conclusion. But if you take it and parse it out and look at what he's arguing, it doesn't make any sense. It is all the style of something that is a coherent argument, but there is no substance there, and that is textbook Tucker Carlson.
Exactly. Well, those are our garbage people. Who did you choose? Well, 39,000 of you, nearly matching the record, voted this week. And coming in at number 5, the 1% of you have Tate proclaiming Christians aren't scared of COVID. Nobody cares about Tate Reeves, I guess. Number 4 with 7% of the vote is the Wisconsin School Board for refusing to provide free lunches to students. I'm glad that people are still thinking about that. Number 3 with 10% of the vote is Joe Rogan for promoting everything but the vaccine to fight COVID. Number 2, 11% of the vote is Madison Cawthorn for his comments celebrating the insurrectionists, but in an overwhelming victory, just about as high as we've ever had. Your community garbage person of the week with 70% of the vote is the Supreme Court for allowing Texas's draconian abortion law. So we may not have all agreed on the exact person responsible for this or who we're mad at, but that's pretty much what the community cares about, and I think that's very understandable. Brett, thank you as always for joining us from your chalet. We appreciate you being here. Very excited for Game Busters later on. There's a lot coming up. Basically, stay tuned. Indisputable is coming up in just a few, but we got to run. And so until next time, stay safe out there. Stay sane out there. I'll see you soon.
What's happening? Welcome. It is Indisputable. I'm your host, Richey. Good to be with you. We got a lot on the agenda today. Ladies and gentlemen, breaking down news of the day. We got my big homie, Jackson White, co-founder and editor-in-chief of Politiscope, TYT Rebel HQ creator as well. And he has an interesting story. Something went down not too long ago that he's going to share with us right here on the Indisputable. My top news story for today. Just a couple of years ago, a young black male was jogging in a white community. His name is Ahmaud Arbery. Mr. Arbery was brutally gunned down by white residents of that local community. This was in Brunswick, Georgia. The DA decided to engage in a cover-up, not arresting the men responsible for the murder. As a matter of fact, getting directly involved and telling the cops, do not execute an arrest. And there's a reason, there's a why. Well, that DA has now been indicted. Let me take you back to that original scene. I gotta warn you, this is graphic. Brutal, vicious, and I would argue premeditated murder. So let me tell you why I would argue premeditated murder here. According to the two men who were initially arrested for this after months of not being arrested, Gregory and Travis McMichael, they said, there he goes, grabbed a weapon and got in their pickup truck. Well, that means that you were waiting for him because Mr. Arbery would frequently jog in that local community. There's your premeditation. So let me give you some background to this, and I have to read my notes from the side, so forgive me if it looks weird to you, okay? A former Georgia prosecutor has now been indicted on misconduct charges, alleging she used her position to shield the men who chased and killed Ahmaud Arbery from being charged with crimes immediately after the shootings. Now, let me remind you that no one looked at this a second time. Literally, when it went down in that local community, the local news did a quick story about it and nothing else. That was it. And then we started to see the story move outside of that local bubble. I say this to let you know the impact of free press, the impact of media. And once the story started to gain traction with the public, all of a sudden, this district attorney, who has now been indicted, she decided to step away from the case and transfer the case to another DA as a special prosecutor in what's called the Waycross Judicial Circuit. Now, that person, I believe, should be indicted as well, and I will get into that in just a moment. A grand jury in Glenn County indicted former Brunswick Judicial Circuit DA Jackie Johnson on charges of violating her oath and hindering a law enforcement officer. Let's put up a picture of Jackie Johnson next to Ahmaud Arbery. Now remember, Jackie Johnson took an oath to protect people like Ahmaud Arbery, who were victims of crimes. She decided not to uphold that oath. Arbery was killed February 23rd, 2020, after a white father and son, Greg and Travis McMichael, armed themselves and pursued the 25-year-old black man in a pickup truck after spotting him running in their neighborhood outside the coastal city of Brunswick. Let's put up a picture of this father and son criminal duo. There you have it. Now, the father, keep that picture up. The father is a former employee of Jackie Johnson. He was an investigator in the DA's office. This guy, as a former employee, literally was about to get away with murder because Jackie Johnson protected him and his son. Let's put up the picture of the third guy who was involved on the pickup truck, okay? That is William Roddy Bryan Jr. Mr. Bryan recorded the incident and has now turned into a witness for the prosecution. He gets absolutely no hero cookie for this. He was trying to save his own ass because he knew that these men committed cold-blooded murder. A neighbor, William Roddy Bryan Jr., joined the chase and took cell phone video of Travis McMichael shooting Arbery. That's the son. Travis is the son. Shooting Arbery at close range with a shotgun. The McMichaels said they believe Arbery was a burglar and that he was shot after attacking Travis McMichael with his fist. It doesn't work that way. They tried to use the stand your ground, or in Georgia, is the citizens arrest rule. Every time they try to utilize one of these statutes in order to give them cover. Well, it actually worked with the DA, and it worked with the DA who the case got referred to. It gets deeper, okay? Police did not charge any of them immediately following the shooting. And the McMichaels and Bryan remained free for more than 2 months until the Georgia Bureau of Investigation took over the case. Well, that was because of political pressure. Black Lives Matter, the media, protests, rallies all over the state of Georgia. I participated in a lot of them personally. Then the GBI gets involved. What happens when the GBI got involved? All 3 men were charged. All of them charged with murder. Now they face trial, okay? George McMichael had worked as an investigator in Johnson's office and left her a cell phone message following the shooting. The indictment says Johnson showed favor and affection toward Greg McMichael in the investigation and interfered with police officers at the scene by directing that Travis McMichael should not be placed under arrest. Now, I want to remind you, the DA is not in charge of the police department. The DA is not the chief of police. The DA is not the sheriff. But this DA had enough power, had enough authority to tell the police what to do and not to do. Scratch my back, I scratch your back. Now, we're talking about this cover up. How many other cover-ups do you think this DA was already involved in to be able to tell the local police what to do and not to do? It gets deeper. This DA insisted, Johnson insisted, she did nothing wrong, saying she immediately recused herself from the case because Greg McMichael was a former employee. That's a lie. She did not immediately recuse herself. She got directly involved. That's a lie. She recommended an outside prosecutor. That is the truth. She eventually did that. The Waycross Judicial Circuit DA, George Barnhill. I want you to remember that name because he has not been indicted and he should be. George Barnhill, who was appointed to the case and concluded no charges were warranted. George Barnhill literally wrote a letter spelling out why no charges were warranted in this case. Barnhill later stepped aside after the Arbery family got involved and said, wait a minute. Another DA writes a letter as if he's a defense attorney saying this is why these gentlemen should not be charged with murder. Come to find out, this guy, Barnhill, his son works for the original district attorney who covered up the whole murder. Jackson, Southern justice, man, you know?
Yeah, I think there are several things that I want to highlight that you pointed out that are important. The first and the biggest is that, again, without the media, this may have just completely went under the rug, and she may have been able to get away with things like this. And also to pinpoint how often this type of stuff happens in the United States, simply because it's not getting enough attention to really move the needle in any type of significant way. And the laws like the citizens arrest and stand your ground, which really allow people to act on their bloodlust and then pretend like they were just looking out for their community, as if the main people who are burglarizing their communities aren't the same skin color as them. You know, they live in white communities, therefore most of the people doing the crimes in those communities are the same color as them. They're just going out, they're just looking to take action upon their hateful instincts. And so really cases like this where we see how white America preserves itself is some of the purest evidence for the racial pillars that the country was founded on. Because there's always been this constant battle to keep privilege within a certain pocket. And slowly as it erodes and it erodes, that culture and that foundation still presents itself in cases like this, because nobody else in the country really has the ability to move the way that white America does in instances like this. So, again, luckily for the media, we got to have some sort of justice on this, at least in a sense of systematically getting her out of there with an indictment. But that's really just a Band-Aid over a much larger issue.
You are absolutely correct. It is a microcosm and still does not solve the macrocosm of injustice that happens in situations like this. I did have the opportunity to speak with Ahmaud Arbery's mom, his aunt, and others who led the charge to make sure this DA did not get reelected. And big ups to them for staying the course even beyond the protest and taking it to the ballot and making sure this person no longer has any executive power in law enforcement. Let me shift gears. Remember the guy who decided to criminally assault an NBC correspondent? He's been on the run. Well, he has now been caught. Let me remind you of the original situation. Here it is.
They did get some reports of some down power lines, of some trees that have fallen, or at least limbs that have fallen. So they're going to go ahead and do that survey to make sure that they're okay. Craig, I'm going to toss it back because we have a person who needs a little help right now.
Hey. We're going to check in with Shaq Brewster just to make sure all is well. There's a lot of crazy out there, a lot of crazy. And Bill Cairns, thank you as well. Again, we'll make sure Shaq's okay.
More than crazy, sir. It's called privilege and criminality, okay? Now, the Gulfport police, they issued warrants on Tuesday for this individual. His name is Dagley, okay? With 2 counts of simple assault, 1 count of disturbance of the peace, and 1 count of violating emergency curfew. Police said Dagley is on probation for a previous charge in Ohio. And the charge is so menacing. Let me remind you of what happened in Ohio. According to the authorities, Dagley was involved in a financial dispute with an electroplating company when he broke into the facility in 2019 and drilled holes in tanks. Now, I want to remind you, this happened in 2019, okay? The man is free today. In 2019, he drilled holes in tanks containing sodium cyanide, hydrochloric acid, yellow chromate, ferrous chloride, and sulfuric acid. The incident sent a security guard to the hospital, okay? With cyanide poisoning. You can die from that. An employee said the released chemicals were severe enough to cause a large-scale catastrophe. And Dagley knew what he was doing. This criminal also has been charged with battery for punching a security guard at the facility during a previous incident. All right. The United States Marshals, they did confirm that they picked up Benjamin Dagley, who was arrested in connection to the assault on the MSNBC reporter Shaquille Brewster during a live broadcast in Mississippi on Monday. He was taken into custody, and guess what this guy was doing? He was at a shopping center in Ohio. Put up a picture of this guy, this clown. There he is. All right. Jackson, when this first happened, right? Mm-hmm. We saw a white middle-aged male driving by a reporter knowing that the camera was rolling. jumped in front of that camera, criminally assaulted this reporter on camera. And I'm now of the mindset, brother, that they are doing things like this in order to get an audience, not to avoid one, but to be visible, to be very public about their criminal activity.
I think that's a good point. I hadn't really thought of that, but that actually makes sense. And especially for a guy like this, who's gotten away with things that can cause a large scale catastrophe. You know, in the picture of him, he clearly looks out of his mind. You know, this is a guy who, like you said, is soaked in privilege in such a way that he feels that he can go on camera, assault a man. And what is he even talking about? Report the hurricane accurately. Like, it's a hurricane, it's blowing things over, it's causing a lot of flooding. Like, what else is there really to say about it? But you know, I mean, why do such grand scale things if nobody can see you doing it? You know what I mean? So that does make sense. I think that's a good point.
Yeah, and you know, let me tell you who else I blame here, brother. And people sometimes they'll say, you know, Doc, you're too hard on people. You're going too far. The criminal justice system that allowed this domestic terrorist to be free in the first place. I mean, damn, they caught him in 2019. Mm-hmm. How in the world do you commit that kind of act and be outside of your state to commit an act like that again? I don't understand it, because I guarantee you, if his last name would have been Muhammad, he would still be in prison this very moment. There will be no ambiguity about that whatsoever.
And also that does.
Go ahead, brother.
I was just saying what that does to someone's psyche. You get away with stuff like that, you naturally feel like you can do whatever you want. So, yeah.
Yeah, everything has a cause and effect relationship. All right, we got more on the other side. It's indisputable, stick and stay.
I'm in Salt Lake City, Utah. I'm at a Wolf-PAC gathering.
We're growing. I see faces that I recognize, but I also see a lot of faces that I don't recognize, and that's fantastic.
We are all taking time out of our lives to be here, and that's amazing. That means we truly believe in this. Make no mistake, everyone in this room is a leader in Wolf-PAC.
Alaska, West Virginia, Montana, Georgia, Massachusetts, New York, New Jersey, everyone is here. All these folks paid with their own money and sometimes took vacation days to come here to strategize on how to get our democracy back and get money out of politics.
Or you get more political power just because you have more money. This is why it requires a constitutional amendment.
The process of winning in your state next year doesn't begin when session begins. It begins right now. To work to a goal, something this big that you're actually making a difference of, there's very few things in the world that really compare to that feeling.
Equal rights, a fair representation, rights for human beings, anti-corruption laws, and free and fair elections. That's what we are fighting for.
What were the founding fathers? Revolutionaries. And they built revolution into the document.
So Article 5 is the way we have to go.
This is how you do it.
You're in this as a team, you're in this together. The fight will always continue.
That fight is not between the left and the right. That fight is between basically greed and humanity.
So I'm asking you to put differences aside, whether you're conservative or independent or progressive, to join forces to say no more corruption.
You get beyond the fear, you take that first step, and you'll change the world.
What I want to leave you with, of course, is hope. And I want to assure you that if we keep fighting together, we're going to win together. We're going to get that convention, we're going to get that amendment, and we're going to get our democracy back. Come join us, wolf-pac.com.
Sharp increase in healthcare insurance premiums next year in response to the ongoing coronavirus pandemic.
The country is desperate for Medicare for all, but the mainstream media will tell you nonstop lies about how people don't want it.
Between 5.8 million and 23 million lost their healthcare just during this pandemic. And Joe Biden says, no, I don't think that's an argument for Medicare for all.
How are you gonna find $35 trillion?
They constantly misstate things, but without explaining that the current system costs at least $50 trillion. Every other developed nation has a single payer system, and they all pay less. In fact, on average, they pay about half of what we pay.
It doesn't matter if taxes go up. if your healthcare costs go way, way down.
The for-profit health insurance companies are simply a scam, price gouging you, and they're in between you and your doctor.
Look, guys, the good news is we're going to win. We're going to get Medicare for all.
A famous new author has a book out. His name is Dogan Uger. That's my dad. Okay, the name of the book is called The Original Young Turk, and it's his life story. I read it, trust me, you're gonna love it. He has such a straightforward way of telling stories that you're gonna be amused by it. It's like, well, then I met JFK, then I was at the White House, then I started a business, then I became Businessman of the Year. It's amazing. You're gonna love the stories, and it's part of what made me progressive. Check it out at shoptyt.com.
It is wrong to deny any of your fellow Americans the right to vote in this country.
Look, I tell you guys, the most important thing is voting in primaries. Primaries.
I hope every American will vote for the candidate and party of his choice, but vote.
We cannot continue to complain about corruption and complain about what's happening in this country and continue to vote for it.
Let's get it right this time. It could be a moment of redemption for what happened in 2016.
All right, welcome back. It's Indisputable. We got a lot on the agenda for this show. Let me go to these amazing comments. And before I get to the comments, let me do some housekeeping, okay? If you're watching Indisputable right now, I'm talking to you. If you're watching Indisputable on the Damage Report on the YouTube channel, okay? I wanna say thank you. Thank you. There will be a change. Next, I need every single one of you, starting Monday, September 13th, to go to our live stream, because this one on the Damage Report will disappear. We knew this was coming at some point. My big homie John and the team, they have been so gracious, making sure we had that great lead in, but it will now be independent, okay? So make sure you go to Indisputable TYT if you enjoy this program format on the YouTube channel, okay? That's youtube.com/Indisputable TYT. That's all you gotta do. Subscribe there if you're watching me on the Damage Report's YouTube channel, all right? Also, never miss, I wish Karen would, never miss the Bullpen, never miss any of that great stuff. Make sure you are a subscriber. I'm counting on you, because without you as the audience, we cannot be as effective with social justice, with exposing political corruption. We're talking about the nuances of our social ills and also the remedy of our social solutions, okay? That takes you being involved. All right, we got some more. Game Busters tonight kick off the weekend with some friendly competition with Game Busters on Twitch. All right, that's on Twitch. Join Jordan Yule and Brett Ehrlich every Friday night, 8:30 p.m., 5:30 p.m. Okay, we're gonna go to Slate. We'll be right back. Indisputable. All right, welcome back. Let me apologize. We're having some technical issues here, but we are still live and we're still broadcasting. So forgive us for those technical issues. We're going to get through it, okay? Let me read some of these amazing viewer comments. Just Be Anti-Racist says, every single time I hear those gunshots, the sounds just shake me to my core. I actually physically shake. I had the same experience the first few times I saw that. It was so insane what they did to him. So evil. All right, Mickey C, the silver-haired dragon. I'm so glad that DA has been charged. We're finally starting to bring murderous cops to justice, but everyone else of the line have not been held responsible. That's right. It's time the racism and injustices of not just the cops, but also their captains, prosecutors, and judges are also held accountable. And you make a great point, because to have the DA tell a responding officer what he can or cannot do, that means she has the permission from the sergeant who's the supervisor and the police chief who's in charge to then transfer to another DA who literally is the only person who wrote a letter in defense of them. She controls them too. All of them are part of this corrupt act. All right, Kelly O'Hara, my poet, says my SAT scores won't win those awards, but I'll still drop these rhymes like they're Claymore swords. If you're bringing falsehoods and other deceits, my man Dr. Richey will bring the receipts. All you Karens and cops and overall bigots, he'll drown you in truth. Watch out for that spigot. I love it. Bars. Okay, YouTube super chat. I don't have time to read all of them. We're running behind schedule for the show, but I will read as many as I can. Leanne Purcell, thank you, Doc, for everything you do. Love your show, and thank you back. Love you too. Rosie, how the hell is he free? Well, we know. Stephen Miles Cook, if Doc is too hard for people, man, I don't know what to say. LOL. West African Dragon, Dr. Richey, you are a superhero. Really thank you, TYT Dragon Squad, and I thank you as well. Gary Sullivan, Dr. Richey is the man. I appreciate that love, brother. Thank you so much, Gary. Twitch, Rhino Lock. I'm tired of having a society that we need to watch these videos for black people to be believed. I know, right? Ladies and gentlemen, I wish a Karen would.
You want to call the police on them for having a barbecue on a Sunday?
You're still free. Back off! I'm going to tell them there's an African-American man threatening my life.
I have no fear of you either.
You better have fear.
I have no fear at all. I have no fear at all. So what do you want me to fear? What do you want me to fear? You want me to fear something?
The police.
So, okay, call the police. We're not doing anything wrong. I have him standing in the middle of the road. All you have to do is beat the horn or lower the window and tell him to.
The police are coming.
I have no ganja here, so you can go ahead and do something. Go ahead. Call the police. I have no ganja here. Gee, are you gonna go on with your day, or are you gonna keep standing here?
I'm gonna go on my day as long as I know my children are here when I have a like you around.
We'll see about this.
Damn right.
I'm standing right here. I'm standing right here.
Do you know what I expect?
What do you expect?
I expect when there's trouble in the community that someone like my neighbor would come along and help me out. Okay. Not the yelling in the middle of the street about things that are inappropriate.
You just came up to.
You're not reading me.
Pa, so I'm here working on my garage and we're not doing anything wrong. And he's sitting right in front of me. He won't move. He comes in, he drives up, and my friend is standing in the middle of the street, and then he moves out of his way and he comes up.
I'm not kidding
around.
Like,
oh, you're not. You're. What are you?
Because the smirk means that you'll never help somebody in need. You're a troublemaker.
He's just standing here screaming at it. No,
I can read people well. You're not a good human being.
Oh my God.
Okay, I'm gonna call the cops. Yo, are you recording everything?
Yeah.
Smile and laugh, my friend. My life is 300 years of life.
He just right here in the truck.
My wisdom is out your nose.
I haven't done anything wrong.
Oh my God.
Should I call the police? But then I have to call my probation officer.
There you go, probation officer. What the heck is wrong with you, boy? Yeah. I'm not afraid of you. I work at the prisons for a living. You have no clue who I am. I'm not afraid of you. I'm the real thing. That's your fear.
You're wrong, sir. We do have a clue of who you are. You are, as you said, 300 years of light. Okay. This was just weird as hell. He said some quotes I had to Google because I said, listen, this must mean something. But it meant nothing at all. He was just talking. But I did find it interesting that he knew the terminology ganja. Okay. I did find that interesting. I don't know what to do with that. I just found it interesting. Jackson, another male Karen here, blocking someone, threatening to put somebody in jail, accusing people of doing things he has no evidence that they're doing, and saying that he's 300 years of light. I guess this is eternal life male Karen here.
Yeah, I mean, what this basically was a guy who just happened to stumble into a situation and didn't know how to leave it alone. Right. I mean, that's basically what it was. I mean, my life is 300 years of life and I got wisdom out your nose. Like, dude, shut up. Like, go away. And I was just talking about this a little bit earlier, but like if he would have did that to a different group of people, he would have got beat up just because he wouldn't leave. You know what I'm saying? Like, bruh, leave. Yeah. You know. So if those weren't like little kids, if those were people who were a bit older or a bit bigger, he might have got hurt in that situation.
And listen, we highlight these stories because we want people to be safe. We want them to understand, listen, you can't just roll up to anybody. At some point, I mean, statistics will set in. You keep doing that to people, you're gonna catch hands. Somebody's gonna end up not being the right one to roll up on. So we don't want that to happen to anybody, all right? Just, be decent. Okay, people were not decent to you, brother. And I want you to give us some background as to what happened here. You were at a MAGA event, right?
Mm-hmm. Yeah, in Conroe, Texas.
Tell us about that.
Well, we went down there just to film and ask people there was a big conservative event in Conroe, Texas, just to get a little bit about how they were thinking about the coming elections, the Afghanistan situation. And I'm a pretty calm, laid back guy. I wasn't there to debate or really overly challenge people. I was just there to talk to people because we see things online often. But it was a good opportunity for me to actually go down there and speak to people. And I got all different types of vibes, all different types of people, and we had an interesting run-in.
We got some video.
Yeah.
All right, let's go to the video.
Do you think that Trump's gonna run again in 2024?
I hope he does, and if he doesn't, I definitely don't blame him just because of all the stuff he went through. I definitely still think he'll still fight for us, and if he became Speaker of the House, dang, that'd be even more awesome.
Is there anybody else that you have in mind that you think would be a good candidate to run in 2024?
Candace Owens, I would 100% vote for that beautiful woman. She is smart, intelligent, and she knows how to get stuff done.
Would you like to see Trump run again in 2024?
He'll be back before then.
How do you think that would happen?
I think the election fraud is going to blow wide open.
I think Trump needs to run again. I like the job he did. Said several times last night about you want the mean tweets, you want somebody that's a leader, and he was a leader. I wouldn't mind him tempering his tweets down a little bit, but I think the man did a good job. The economy was good. I thought he did about as good a job as you could do with COVID. There's a lot of people that disagree. Yeah, I'd like to see him run again, but I wouldn't object to somebody stronger running again. Governor DeSantis, I think, would be a good candidate.
Okay, damn. I mean, somebody actually said they want Candace Owens to run for president.
Several people said that.
Several people.
Several people.
All right, what happened? There was an encounter where things turned from Q&A to something else. What went down?
Well, basically, we got permanently banned from the Men's Baptist Church because apparently Jesus only saves sometimes in that location. so you know what I'm saying? We were just filming, and they kind of got wind of, I guess who we were. And the guy, one of the security guards, he came over and he told us to leave, and we ended up coming back just to get some clarity, and they sent the police on us, and so that could have went south pretty badly. Luckily, the police were decent. They had us sign some papers, but the security guard, he wanted them to arrest us, and he wanted them, us to be in trouble, but we were just up there, filming at a public event, so. ultimately they just, luckily again, they were cool enough to just let us go. So.
All right, we got some more video. Let's go to it.
Yeah. Guys, I hate to break in here. Y'all have permission to be here on the property?
We do not.
Okay, y'all need to go to the other by the road. You can't be anywhere on this property.
Y'all have a good one.
Y'all come back onto the property, y'all will be arrested for criminal trespass.
All right.
Okay, y'all haven't asked for permission or anything. Halfway of the ditch to the road, you're good. Anything halfway from the ditch this way is criminal trespass.
All right. Appreciate the information. Thank you.
Okay, so let me tell you why he's inaccurate. They literally use that property for a public event. You can transform your private property into a public use property to where the general trespass laws no longer apply. You don't get to say we're having a public event and then say, oh, but no, we're not, right? So they transformed it into a public event and then accused you all of criminal trespass, basically. But I do find it quite interesting. Were other people asking questions here?
Not from the time that we were there, because we weren't there for very long before that happened.
How long did it take?
About probably like 35, 40 minutes. That's only about how long it took. And as you saw in the video, he said we could go further back, and we came back to get a bit more clarity on it. And then they just like sicked the police on us. And he was really upset, like visually upset. About the whole thing. So again, at a church that's supposed to be about community and connectedness, he certainly did not have that spirit about him whatsoever.
Okay, I'm gonna go out on a limb here. If you walked inside of that church, I bet you would have seen a picture of white Jesus.
Oh, no doubt. Absolutely, without a doubt. Yeah, I mean,
brother, I'm glad you got what you did get on record, because top 3 in the running, Trump, Candace Owens, and Governor DeSantis.
Yes.
3 of the most horrible people I could think of to run even a warehouse, much less a country.
Yeah, but those are the candidates and those are the people. So we got to get active. We got to get in our communities and we got to get people out here because they're voting. So we got to do it too, Yeah.
So. Well said, brother. How can people follow you? Check out your work.
You can download Politiscope on Apple and Android. Just type in Politiscope. Follow us on Twitter and Instagram at Politiscope app. We help you stay up to date with legislation in Congress, who's voting for it, who's voting against it, and our news feed is policy focused to just keep you up to date and connected with the most useful features that you can think. So just check us out.
My brother, always a pleasure having you on Indisputable, man. Thank you for being here with me.
Oh yeah, thanks for having me. Looking forward to more.
All right, we got more on the other side. It's Indisputable. Stick and stay.
I went to Kentucky Fried Chicken when I first got my license, like 17 years old or 17, 18, whatever it was. And I'm driving, I think, my dad's Oldsmobile. And I parked it in a place where there was 2 cars next to me, really tight spot, and a car behind me. I don't even know how I got in there because I'm a terrible driver. Back then I was an even worse driver. And on the roads I'm okay, but in parking spots I have terrible spatial reasoning and I'm a mess. And on my way out, I hit all 3 cars at once. I broke all records, okay? So I went, as I'm backing out, I went boom, oh and this side hit that car, this side hit this car, and the back hit the 3rd car, okay? And I got stuck. I didn't know how to get out. Like, I went, okay, for this, and then I'm like, no, and then, right? And then finally I had to stop, go inside the KFC and go, I'm sorry, I hit a bunch of your cars. They're like, what do you mean a bunch of your cars? I'm like, I don't know.
Wow, there's a B?
Yeah, I'm like, I hit 3 cars. I don't know, so you guys gotta come help me, okay? Okay, so 1, my bad, really sorry about that. Okay, number 2, can someone take my car out? Because I don't wanna keep hitting your cars and I'm incapable of taking it out of this spot.
Now baby, move that fat, baby, move that fat.
Hi, I'm Brett Ehrlich with Breaking News with Brett Ehrlich. This is Breaking News with Brett Ehrlich. Hi, Brett Ehrlich here. According to EPA head Scott Pruitt, climate change is not happening. He cited a meme on Facebook he saw. When pressed to back up this source, he said it must be accurate because the watermark said it was made by a scientist. So, your move, Truth.
Do all of you know the Young Turks?
An outlet like yourself that are willing to cover this story from the very beginning and that weren't afraid to say, hey, this is something that is legitimate.
And this is why what Cenk and the Young Turks are doing is so important.
Brent Welder is a very progressive Democrat. He's a just Democrat. In fact, uncorrupted, not going to take big corporate PAC money. When did you start watching the show and when did you become a member?
So I've been watching for 10 years, an active viewer, but also more importantly, getting out there with causes like Wolf-PAC.
By the end of our campaign, we had organized about 22,000 individual contributions with an average about $27 a piece. And those initial people were a lot of TYT supporters as well.
In looking at the world in a very different way than corporate media does.
It takes those early people who believe that can really be the seeds of this movement, and that has been the Young Turks.
Thank you, Cenk Uygur of the Young Turks.
Thank you to TYT and all the progressives around the country that have our backs.
You know, the first and only interviews that we had tonight to do with the Young Turks as well, because you guys have been here from the very beginning, and that's what this night is all about.
And I thank Cenk very much for the very good work that he does.
Thank you so much for all in this together, and the people are so powerful, and we're gonna get it done.
Thank you for your constant support.
It's a pleasure to be with rebels. I like that.
For all of the help that you've given to the Just Democrats, to Wolf-PAC, to help fellow progressives, thank you guys, to all the Young Turks members that make it possible.
Hey, this is Edwin. Most of you might recognize me, well, not me, mostly my laugh from the main show.
I mean, it's gonna be hard to get the Uygur maneuver on him.
And today, my talent is Rubik's Cubes. You gotta forgive me, it's been at least 5 years since I competed. So that's why I'm actually going pretty slow. Watch this.
All right, you hear me now. Welcome back. Sorry about that. Okay, I'm gonna read some of these housekeeping notes for everybody to pay attention to, okay? If you're watching Indisputable on the Damage Reports YouTube page, make sure that you subscribe to Indisputable TYT, because that is going to go away. Us being on TDR, the Damage Report, will be no more. All right, we thank everyone, the big homie John and everybody over there, for allowing us to enjoy this awesome lead in and help build the show. But I want to say thank you. And Monday, September 13th, our live stream will completely disappear from the Damage Report. So make sure you subscribe right now to Indisputable TYT. All right. Also, when you do that, you won't miss I Wish You Karen Wood, Bullpen segment, none of that. It's gonna be amazing, all right? Also tonight, kick off the weekend with some friendly competition. The Game Busters on Twitch with Jordan Yule and Brett Ehrlich every Friday night, 8:30 p.m. Eastern time, 5:30 p.m. Pacific time. You, the audience, can be part of the show and sabotage their games. Join in on the fun on Twitch. I may get in on some of that action too, okay? All right, the conversation, don't forget, today live at 5:30 p.m. Eastern time, 2:30 p.m. Pacific time at tyt.com/live. That's before the Young Turks. Make sure you subscribe and watch all of these amazing interviews at youtube.com/TYT conversation. Don't forget the big homie, Galaxy Brain with Ben Carollo. That's right after Indisputable. Catch Galaxy Brain with Ben at 4 p.m. Eastern time, 1 p.m. Pacific time. Tune in on Twitch at twitch.tv/TYT. All right, all good, amazing programming. Ladies and gentlemen, welcome to the Bullpen. In the Bullpen today, very outspoken writer and comedian. We have Jason Lefkowitz on the show, and he has actually kind of gone viral for being extremely vocal about mask mandates, vaccine requirements, etc. All right, Jason, thank you for being on the show. How are you?
Oh, I'm wonderful, and I just want to say congratulations. I understand that you're working on your second doctorate. That takes a lot of time and effort on your part, so congratulations.
Brother, I appreciate you saying that. You are a little late. Maybe you saw an old bio. I finished my second doctorate 2 years ago, and I'm currently a second-year law student. But I thank you for even acknowledging some of that, and thank you for reading up on it, brother, a little bit. But I think you just read an old bio. But thanks for the sentiment.
Well, okay, well, I just wanted to say, I was a bio major at Rutgers University. I scored a 96. I scored a 96.4 on the DAT, which was organic chem, and bio. I've studied immunology, virology, microbiology, genetics, cancer. So I'm not just a comedian and a writer. I am a bio major. I've always had my eyes and ears and mouth in all things science. So
okay, and where did you graduate?
Happy to be here.
Where did you graduate?
2000, Rutgers College. I was actually class president as well.
Remarkable. So you know the science of things, right?
I know as much science as I possibly can, yes.
Okay, let's get into it, man. I don't want to presume what you know or believe about mask requirements or the vaccination, COVID-19, etc. So give us your sentiment, man. What are your thoughts about what's happening right now, especially around mask mandates at school boards and some of the potential vaccine requirements?
Well, first, let me just say that I am for medical freedom. I believe if somebody wants to take a vaccine, they should have every right to take that vaccine. I also believe that if somebody doesn't want to take the vaccine, they should not be coerced or forced into taking the vaccine. I feel the same way about masks. Masks are a medical instrument. I do not believe that children who should be forced into masks whatsoever. There is literally a 0% death rate for kids, and they've been known, even the CDC admits that transmission through children is highly negligible if recorded at all. So yeah, to put masks on kids, I believe is child abuse, and to put masks on our faces around children, if you're not sick, is also a form of child abuse. Children need to see faces, they need to see smiles, they need to see emotion. That's how we socially interact.
Okay, let me ask you this question. You believe vaccines or vaccine mandates are a violation of some sort of civil liberty? Is that the premise of the argument?
I believe that wholeheartedly, that forcing anybody into a medical experiment and into this medical gene therapy that's never been done before, and all the previous trials of mRNA vaccines ended in animal death. We are the animals in this live experiment. Nothing has been approved. Everything is still an emergency authorization. This sort of technology is. Well, the thing with Pfizer, they approved another name that's a different name of the vaccine.
But when you make proclamations like that, Jason, that nothing has been approved, everything is still under emergency use, you are aware that that statement is a lie, correct?
It's not a lie.
The FDA does, sir. The FDA has approved.
The FDA did not approve the biotech name of the vaccine that has been given out. They approved something else that has a different name, and that thing we do not even have vials to distribute yet. So sir, that's the truth. You say no, sir. You are incorrect. I assume you subscribe to QAnon. Am I right? Am I right on that assumption? Not at all. But
you're anti-QAnon, right?
I didn't say I'm anti. I didn't say I'm pro. I'm not on it. I don't know enough. All I know from Q is that they ask people to go do research about things. I'll tell you that I'm anti-sex trafficking. Are you?
Yeah, of course we are, brother.
Okay, well then that's all I know of it. I'm not a QAnon support. I'm not a QAnon person.
All right,
I'm
so
a
let's go
concerned
back to the
citizen
vaccine
that does a lot of research and read. Sure.
Guys, let's go back to the vaccine mandate. Are you also against the vaccinations that you were mandated to receive?
100%.
Okay, so why are you not talking about the vaccines that are already mandated in the United States of America? For example, all 50 states, they have a vaccine mandate of between 6 to 8 vaccinations, depending on the state. Georgia and Florida has a few less than California and New York. Every single public school system in the United States of America has a mandate of vaccinations, even though there is no federal mandate for them. Also, if you go to certain countries or come in from certain countries to America, there's a vaccination mandate that you must adhere to as well. And also private companies, naturally, they have the ability to enforce certain mandates for vaccinations, especially if you work with a particular population. This has been well known and established for decades in the healthcare arena. And if you serve in the US military, depending on your deployment, you can get 16 to up to over 20 vaccination requirements because of what you do for the United States military. My point to you is this.
Yeah, and they poison our soldiers.
Jason, I allowed you to finish, brother, in all due respect. My point to you is this. We have always had various vaccination mandates in the United States of America. So if you're arguing that this is a civil liberty issue rather than a COVID-19 vaccine issue, then you would intellectually have an issue, problem, and protest against the vaccination requirements that are currently established today, correct?
Correct, and I do talk about those. You'll see that in my speeches. Since 1990, with the new vaccine schedule, we have the sickest children in America. When I was a child, and probably when you were a child, you got maybe six vaccines total. Children nowadays since 1990 take 69 vaccines. Autism rates are through the roof. That's how I talk about it. That's how I talk about all these things. We have the sickest children in the country, in the world.
I want to remind everyone.
Over 54% of our kids have learning disabilities. All of these things are caused by vaccines. It's all germ theory nonsense.
When you say the number 69, for the vast majority of states, the requirement is 7. Other states, the requirement is 6. When you say 69, those are voluntary. Those are people that say we want to get an additional vaccination, a flu shot, whatever it may be.
Yeah, no parents say that.
But you are independent.
Doctors and nurses are coercing our parents, coercing our children. The medical industry is a massive coercion. Western medicine is pharmaceutically driven. Doctors now are just drug dealers pushing drugs that they don't know anything about. There are zero classes about vaccinations in medical school. Zero classes about vaccinations in medical schools. So yes, sir.
All right, here's the thing, brother. See, if I was a guest in your house, I would respect the rules of your home because I'm a gentleman. I'm going to request that you be a gentleman in my home or I would kick you the hell out.
How am I not being a gentleman?
When you and I engage in discourse, when I put something out to you, you respond. I put something out, you respond. You put something out, I respond. Remember, as the host, I have to play part moderator and part debater with you on these topics. That's just the flow of the program, okay?
Yeah.
All right, I appreciate that. So let me go to mask. You have an issue with mask mandates. Do you have an issue with any other mandates for school children inside of K through 12 education? And
sure, but let's talk about, sorry. I do, but let's start with the mask. So your best mask that we know of is the N95, correct? Would you agree?
According to the CDC, yes.
Okay, so the smallest hole in an N95 mask is 0.3 microns, which is very small. The average size of a coronavirus is 0.125 microns, which is less than half the size of the hole. What the PCR test is testing for is 64 base pairs of a polypeptide chain, which is way smaller than even a coronavirus. A coronavirus has up to 10,000 plus base pairs. That would be like finding a fingernail on the ground and saying you discovered an entire new species of human being. So to think that a cloth mask or a bandana or any of these other masks supplying any sort of protection is absolutely asinine. Even Dr. Fauci said masks don't work. So I don't understand which science people are trying to believe here.
Once again, untrue.
That's untrue. He
that's
said
untrue
it.
Again.
I've seen
so
the video.
Let's be very clear.
He
Jason,
said masks don't work.
I'm going to respond now. I don't have unlimited time, brother. So Fauci and the CDC, as a matter of fact, where you get your science from, the same scientists that talk about the formation of this virus are the same scientists that also have proclaimed, based on actual studies, that if you wear the mask properly, it can decrease the spread of COVID-19 by up to 90%. Even if you wear, brother, you can go to the CDC to check out
if you
my
wear
data.
3 masks,
Sir,
if you wear 3 masks, they'll give you 90%.
Sir, you're still trying to be a comedian. Your career.
I'm not trying to be a comedian. Fauci said 1 mask is 1, 2 is 70%. Okay.
Jason,
Fauci said in the very beginning, masks don't work.
Jason,
he said
90% worn properly, it decreases the spread of COVID by 90%. That's according to the CDC. It also, if you wear, Jason, come on, man.
I'm listening.
You're adults, brother.
Yeah, okay. I'm listening. I mean, you're just lying, but keep going.
No, that's not a lie. Come on, man.
Sure
it's on the CDC website. I just cited my source to you.
Okay, cool. I'll cite my sources too. Dr. Rochelle Walensky said the PCR test
all right, I appreciate you citing your source, brother. Can I finish the rebuttal or not?
Please, by all means.
You want to call me a liar for citing verified data on my show?
You called me a liar for citing verified data. So
say that again.
We're equally. You called me a liar for citing verified data. So,
sir, when you say
right
Dr. Fauci says masks do not work, who has been
that
one
right
of
in the beginning,
hardest supporters, the most extreme, I would say, in the media, supporter of wearing masks, that is simply taking things out of context. So let me go on to the next data set. Even if you wear the mask improperly, or if you wear a cloth mask, it decreases the spread of COVID by 40 to 60%. Now here's another data set. Individuals who have the COVID-19 vaccination, they have virtually a 100% chance of not dying from COVID.
That's hysterical. That's hysterical.
Go ahead, tell me why.
So you understand that the CDC declares anybody is unvaccinated until after 2 weeks after their second shot. So if you get the shot and you get sick and die from it, you're still considered unvaccinated. Imagine if you and I went out to go eat some seafood and you ate a thing of clams and I ate a thing of clams and we both got dysentery and got really sick from it. But because they didn't pass through our digestive system, we can't blame it on the clams. That's exactly what's going on here.
Let me get this right. I just want to ask just for clarity, and I'll let you finish your point. You're saying, because I understand the nuance, you are fully vaccinated if you take the 2-shot
after 2
regimen.
Weeks. After 2 weeks of the
you're
second
saying
shot.
that first shot contributes to death. Is that what you're saying?
I'm saying people have died after the first shot.
But I'm asking, are you saying that the shot itself kills people? Is that the insinuation you're making?
The shot itself has killed people, yes. 100%. You can go on the VAERS. You can go on VAERS right now, which I have behind me. We're almost at 14,000 deaths reported on VAERS as of yesterday, and that's noted to be 1 to 10%, and that's just in the United States of America.
I'm running out of time.
So let me ask you one question.
Brother, I want to get to the Civil War statement.
Sure.
you said that there will be civil war. I want you to provide context for the statement. I don't want to provide your context. What did you mean by that?
That's fair, and I do appreciate you saying that. What I meant by that was if mandates start rolling out and people that are wary of the vaccine, that want to have their right to choose, that want to wait to see how these experiments play out and the data is taken, because the Pfizer doesn't end, I believe, till next year and the Moderna the year after that, or vice versa. So when you're trying to tell people now that they're not gonna be able to have access to food, to jobs, right now, according to certain bills, they would still allow grocery stores and churches. But what's happening is, as the news and media declares that it's a pandemic of the unvaccinated, they're making it so that the churches and the grocery stores will be the only places where people could be spreading the virus. And then the circle just tightens and tightens and tightens. And we know this flu season, there's gonna be a lot more people getting sick. And if you looked at the PCR test, like the CDC stated, they cannot distinguish between the flu and COVID, which oddly, we had 39 million cases of COVID in America. We had 38 million cases of the flu last year and only 1,800 this year. So if you look into germ theory versus terrain theory, the only things that have been added to the terrain that have been making people sick are the spike protein and 5G.
Jason, so this is because of 5G technology.
It is definitely part of why people get sick. Anytime there's a rollout of new technology in the air, you can read the book, The Invisible Rainbow. Radar, radar, X-ray, 1G, 2G, 3G, people get sick. Look at your Wi-Fi. I'm sure you've seen the experiment where people put seeds near their Wi-Fi converter and they don't grow. Yeah, that's called radiation poisoning. Losing your senses of taste and smell are clear indications of radiation poisoning. Oxygen attenuates at 60 megahertz. The oxygen molecule attenuates at 60 megahertz, which gives you shortness of breath. I just proved it to you. I just proved it to you that 5G can make you sick.
You went on record and said that there would be civil war. The explanation you just gave is that these folks are being mandated to do things, basically. But mandates are everywhere. You're mandated by law to wear a seatbelt. You're mandated by law to have certain prerequisites before you can have particular jobs. You're mandated by law already to have certain vaccinations if you work in a particular field or industry. All of these
approved vaccinations
already here, okay?
They're approved vaccinations. This is a modified gene therapy that they changed the definition of a vaccination so they would have zero liability.
So what's going to happen in this civil war?
People are losing their jobs. People are losing their jobs, and when men can't provide food for their families, you're pushing them into a box that I don't want to see.
But Jason, the civil war aspect of it, you think literally Americans, and this is something that you stand for, or at least you are an observer of, that Americans are willing to kill other Americans because of a mask mandate in particular areas in the United States of America. That is your proclamation today.
Americans are already trying to kill other Americans by injecting them with a poison that's known to kill people. It's on the VAERS site. Over 13,000 deaths already. So you're putting other Americans at risk, saying, here, take a risk on this experimental vaccine in live time where you can be a lab rat and potentially die. So you're already killing us.
Jason, I'm out of time, brother. I just want to remind people that you are actually a comedian.
But I can, yeah.
All right, thank you, man. Appreciate you being on Indisputable.
Thank you for your time, that's very kind of you.
Absolutely. All right, sorry about that, people. Ladies and gentlemen, remember, take care of yourself, take care of each other, and take care of the planet. Remember, the truth is always indisputable. All right, welcome back. Ladies and gentlemen, there was a very disturbing situation that took place, and a young African-American female was assaulted by a police officer. But she ends up getting arrested later after the cop assaulted her. Here's the video.
Mason us for no reason. Cause we're recording, look. Don't rub it, don't rub it, don't rub it, don't rub it. You good, friend?
This cop literally went up to her, physically assaulted her with his bicycle, and then decided to mace her in the face. Now, there's a why connected to this. It's because she was recording. And these cops have been given free reign based on a new law to actually do this to civilians who record them. They have been utilizing the privilege in an egregious way. So let me give you some background to this and highlight this particular cop. Miami Beach prosecutors have dropped charges against a music festival tourist. So remember, they ended up arresting her. Now, they did not arrest her immediately. She walked down the street. They're trying to put water in her eyes to get the mace out. And then she gets arrested by another officer, okay? So they've dropped the charges. The arrest was made under some ridiculous new city law that establishes a protection for police for unruly crowds. Now, they were at a concert, okay? But really, they have used this law in order to assault people who are caught recording them. That's how they've used the law. The young black woman in the red hair, her name is Mariah Maple, 27 years of age. Let's put up a picture of Miss Maple. She was a victim here out of New York. The ordinance case was with Sergeant Vincent Stella. That's the person who pepper sprayed this young sister, okay, who was doing nothing criminal. Let's put up a picture of this sergeant. That's the sergeant receiving a promotion. That's according to the Miami Herald. Once again, insane, right? But here's what happens. Literally the same people who are supposed to respect the law, who are supposed to be enforcers of the law, and to protect you when there is an unlawful element around you, these are the individuals who are becoming the biggest law violators out there. This young lady was at a concert. She was at a concert. Yes, she was recording, but that is still constitutional. That is still statutorily legal. And because of this ridiculous added protection, they have utilized that added protection to create a prerequisite in order to engage in assault, in order to engage in this egregious activity against citizens. Now, according to some reports, over 90% of the people that have been engaged by this ridiculous law, guess what? Black folk, okay? And they are utilizing it based on the majority of reports. They are utilizing it to stop people from recording them. All right. Ladies and gentlemen, shifting gears. What if a cop was stalking you for 3 years? What if that happened? Okay, that would be scary, right? This person out of Arkansas, this young lady was a victim of a state trooper stalking her. Former state trooper will now spend 10 years in prison for stalking a Locust Grove woman for more than 3 years. Let's put up a picture of this guy. There he is. His name is Mark Holland. Mark Holland was paid to protect and serve people, okay? In 2016, I'm giving you background now. In 2016, Skylar Galloway was working at a family-owned gas station in Independence County. The owner's brother was former trooper Mark Holland. He would come in and do like, coffee and stuff. And he was an officer and he'd be getting ready for his shift. So that's how I knew him, the victim said. I was really close with his family. Galloway eventually moved and switched jobs a month later. Anonymous emails came pouring in asking for nude photos. The victim, she didn't know exactly where this was coming from because this trooper did not identify himself, okay? According to an affidavit, they would say things like, if I have to come over there, I'll take my own pics. I'm going to get what I want. You are going to scream and moan, but you probably won't really like it. Let me show you a picture of his victim, his stalking victim. Her name is Skylar Galloway. Put up her picture. There she is. Now remember, this took place for over 3 years. And she went to the authorities initially, but they said not enough evidence was here to figure out who it was. She started filing police reports with the Independence County Sheriff's Office, but was turned away. Galloway said nothing could be done basically because they did not have a name. So she decided to take matters into her own hands. Why? Because they didn't. She took matters into her own hands and started investigating. Why? Because they would not. I had to get out of it. It was either life or death for me. I had to do something about it or I was going to die. That's how extreme these emails were. She believed she was going to die, okay? After 3 years of digging, she realized it was Holland. Let's put his picture up again. She realized it was him doing this to her. Within 5 days, he was arrested by his own department and charged with 20 felonies. According to court records, Holland acquired charges of terroristic threatening, misuse of the Arkansas Crime Information Center, and 18 separate counts of stalking. Now, what made him believe he could do this to a civilian, to another person, to a human being, to a woman, and get away with it? And he did it for years. He's a criminal every day. This criminal did not simply engage in criminality against her. How do you think he treated people he encountered while being a trooper? Do you think this is a silo? Do you think this guy is a one-off? Or maybe he runs with a crew of criminals, right? I'm thankful that this young lady finally received justice. These emails obviously have stopped because they found the perpetrator. But once again, if it had not been for her investigation, if it had not been for her continuing to get to the bottom of what was happening to her, these cops would not have done a damn thing, all right? Okay, we got more.